The government's Help to Buy scheme will be debated in Parliament this week, and the Greens have unveiled one of their bargaining chips, pressuring the government to change the rules around negative gearing.
Labor's refusal to phase out billions of dollars in property investor tax concessions to property investors like yourself is denying millions of renters the chance to buy a home.
The idea that there will be a discussion with that sort of juvenile approach that we've seen from those opposite will not occur, because this is not a students' council, this is a parliament.
The Redbridge pollster Kos Samaras has conducted extensive research on this subject. We spoke earlier about one of the greatest challenges for the government, winning support of what he calls the atypical voter.
It is women in the outer suburbs and regions. You know, the atypical voter that Labor's got a problem with is a woman in her 40s. She's got kids at school, whether it's primary or secondary. And we find that a lot of these women across the country are doing a lot of heavy lifting, keeping their homes above water in this affordability crisis. So Labor has to work pretty hard throughout the year to pitch to them a very strong economic message as to what they are doing to relieve the pressure that these mums, in particular, are feeling on the kitchen table.
Pollster Kos Samaras there. A couple of issues to pick up there, Andrew. First of all, I was really interested in the way Redbridge have looked at the atypical voter that's causing a problem for the government right now, that being a 40-year-old woman, a mother in the outer suburbs, trying to keep their house budget and their home afloat amid intense cost of living pressures.
2 or 3 kids, work full time, probably do more housework than the husband, let's face it. How tough a life is that? It's pretty tough. And bizarrely, this is a cohort that I came across as a big influencer in the 2019 New South Wales campaign. Gladys Berejiklian and the Liberal Party found she was struggling with 35 to 50-year-old women. She didn't have children. They started targeting policies at this cohort. Katie Gallagher in the caucus room, when they did this tax cuts change, mentioned this was better for women. The government keeps mentioning that. Clearly, there'll be more for women in this budget if their research is finding what Kos Samaras has found. I wonder what that group thinks of The Voice. I wonder if they think that's a distraction we don't need. It is interesting too, because that is a very influential, obviously, person within a family group, and often the husband will be influenced by her view, the 40-year-old woman in the suburbs, 35 to 50-year-old. I feel a bit uncomfortable talking about this because I'm not a woman, basically. But look, this is... I'm married to one. And look, also, you know, you just speak to political officials, party officials and so forth, and you hear about this demographic. It's such an important demographic in our community. It's one in wealthier suburbs. Obviously, the Teals have targeted with success. They feel disenfranchised by the male-dominated, macho, if you like, parliamentary process. And they identify quite correctly that a lot of these politicians are about themselves and not the people. So I guess they're railing against that, saying what a government's doing to relieve us. And the government's, I think the Labor Party's probably identified the same thing Kos Samaras has. And this is a continuing problem for the Liberal Party. I mean, we got Zoe McKenzie coming in. She's someone that Peter Dutton needs to promote. He needs to promote more women. He needs a refresh of his front bench. He needs some new faces. And I was taken aback, actually, when he said on Sunday Agenda yesterday that it's the best front bench he's seen in opposition in years. I think actually, but I'm surprised but why did he go so hard? I mean, fair dinkum. I reckon the Labor front bench in opposition was more experienced, a lot better than these guys. So there is a perception that behind Peter Dutton and his experience, actually, there's not a lot there. And that is something they're going to struggle with at the next election, whereas the Labor Party's got Anthony Albanese, they've got Jason Clare, they've got Jim Chalmers, they've got Tanya Plibersek, they've got a number of high-performing, experienced ministers, Tony Burke, Penny Wong, who apparently rates through the roof in terms of the polling, in terms of people's opinion of her ability. And Peter Dutton's really got Peter Dutton, Susan Lee and Angus Taylor. So I imagine that will be a big play in the next election as well, as the government seeks to appeal for re-election.